Now, the Nobel Prize-winning economist Paul Krugman is with us, and I am curious to see what you make of this latest data. It's beyond inflation at this point in time because we had lower GDP, right, and lower job growth. So what do you think we're looking at?
Oh gosh, I mean the inflation report was definitely a won't change anybody's mind report. There was nothing dramatic, and people can believe whatever they want to after that report. The jobs report was also really, in effect, what we got was it confirmed the narrative that we're now a slow job growth economy, but we're also a slow labor force economy, largely because of the immigration crackdown. So the jobs report isn't really giving you much guidance to look at. And I think the really big thing we should say about the inflation report is that uh, that is backward looking. It's reflecting a fall in energy prices that is over. And if, in a way, looking at the price of crude oil is kind of the wrong indicator because we've had a huge rise in the crack spread, the difference between the price of crude and the price of the products that are refined out of crude, which is what people actually buy. And the crack spread is really high. The look at something like the price of diesel, it's almost back to its peak at the worst of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, although it's still closed, but the worst of the war fears. So we're more or less guaranteed, I think, that the next inflation report will be worse, because it'll reflect what's already happened to the
And,
prices
and,
of gas and diesel. Yeah.
and so the issue is now over to you, Chair Kevin Warsh. Markets, especially the bond markets, still don't know really what to make of him yet. What do you make of his first meeting, his first press conference, and whether or not he is serious about trying to get to that 2% inflation target?
Oh boy. I mean, I'm on record as not being a great admirer of Warsh, and I think he has no idea what to do. I mean, I think of him as an ambitious guy who is now in the position of the dog that actually finally caught the school bus. And now what does he do? I mean, he really has, he talks like an inflation hawk, but promises or has, indicated to the president that he's going to be good for lower interest rates. And I think he has not figured out any way to square that circle. So um, I don't think he's not going to make the decision. The next interest rate decision will be made by the members of the FOMC, with or without Warsh's support. And right now, I think they're still very much on the edge. Got to remember that what the Fed looks at is not the CPI; it's the PCE, the
Right.
personal consumption expenditure, and it's the people I follow who are actually data nerds on this are looking at that. They say, "Give me tomorrow's PPI report, and I'll tell you what the PCE might be," and that's going to make the so it's all alphabet soup. And the
Yep.
answer is basically we're sitting on the cusp. You could go either way.
And in terms of him, though, trying to show credibility, it'll be interesting just to see where he sits on that, because some have speculated that, look, it's just talk at this point until he actually makes a move. I do want to get to this issue, though, of affordability, which is also a political issue. It is also a political issue as people are bringing up things like socialism and communism. If we go to
Yeah,
Abdul Sayed, who does not call himself a socialist, just for the record, you have
yeah.
written, the fact that if you look at one of his, main centerpieces of his campaign going forward in Michigan will be Medicare for all, health care for all. And you're saying basically that's a system that already exists by another name in the United States. How do you think that economic framing will work going into the midterms? Because again, we have not just two radical choices, meaning between Republicans and Democrats. No, now on the Democratic side, we also have a choice between moderate and left.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Medicare for All is that most of the healthcare experts that I talk to say if we could do it from scratch, that's what we do. That that a single payer system just is less complex, has lower administrative costs, it's simpler. And since we have a system in which, in effect, the government already pays 2/3 of health insurance, we, as I wrote, we have a system that is basically socialized with partial privatization, and it's not clear that the private sector is doing anything productive. That's not really what you want. The argument has always been that if I wanted to get there, I wouldn't start from here. That
Mm-hmm.
the problem is that a Medicare for all system would require that you shift a lot of people off private insurance onto a Medicare type system, which is a very heavy lift. And it's actually requiring that people have faith that you're going to pull it off. And realistically, it's not going to happen for quite a while. So this is, in many ways, is kind of more a signaling thing. El Sayed is saying, I care about healthcare, and I know that you're having trouble affording it, and I want to propose not more business as usual, but I'm really going to tackle it. And, we'll see. But I actually suspect that most Americans are so sick of having everything called socialism that they're just going to tune this stuff out.
Yeah, we're not that far from the midterms. And again, given what we're seeing in the Strait of Hormuz right now, that affordability issue, the energy prices, what you just discussed, the crack spread, and interest rates to come, all will be on the
pointing
agenda.
out that wage growth has been slowing. So although the inflation report was fairly benign, its prices are rising faster than wages.
Right.
So
And
that's not great for affordability.
Yeah. And that's also key. Paul Krugman, we have to leave it there. Thanks so much. We'll speak to you again soon.
Thanks a lot.